With gas prices soaring through the roof, more consumers are becoming interested in electric vehicles. But there are 10 hidden costs to owning an EV which no one is talking about. I'm exposing these hidden costs which will make you think twice before buying an electric car. Let's start with the most visible cost, and that's the purchase price. Everyone knows that EVs aren't cheap. Many EVs cost more than their gasoline engine counterparts. Last year, the industry average for new gasoline cars was about $46,000. Compare that to the average cost of an EV, which was $56,000. That's all 10 grand we're talking about. So why are EVs just so expensive? Short answer is because of the extra technology involved in the production of an EV. And of course, most of it is the battery cost. Just how high can EV prices get? Well, the 2022 Lucid Air Dream could set you back as much as $170,000. Mind you, it's a luxury EV and comes with lots of bells and whistles. At the driver's seat, you'll find a combination of the digital instrument cluster and a central infotainment screen. The screen is a curved, floating 34-inch screen with crisp and clear 5K resolution. Inside of the cockpit is touch sensitive. It supports Alexa voice commands, Apple CarPlay, Spotify, wireless Android Auto, and other services. The Lucid Air Dream even includes a touch screen for the wiper, lighting, and security controls on the left side of the main driver's cockpit. And there's even another touchscreen, which Lucid has nicknamed the Pilot Panel. Not only does the screen control audio and phone controls and navigation, but it also controls more detailed vehicle parameters. But more than that is your car insurance premium. You guessed it. Premiums on EVs are generally higher. On average, you're looking at EV insurance premiums that are about 25% higher than for a gasoline-powered car. Naturally, you're wondering why. Well, a major reason is because EVs cost more to repair and replace. They say EVs generally require less maintenance. But when they do, which will happen inevitably, well, that's when they'll get you. Another hidden cost actually has to do with temperature, specifically the temperature where you live. For example, if you live in a warm climate like Texas or Florida, you likely won't run into this hidden cost too frequently. But let's say you live in one of the colder areas, like one of the northern states. I wouldn't even mention Alaska, where temperatures dip minus 30 degrees and where there's hardly any EV infrastructure. States with dramatic seasonal swings from hot to cold don't do your EV battery any favors. It's actually the opposite. These temperature shifts reduce your battery's ability to get its full amount of charge in and out. But the cold weather doesn't just eat your battery's charging capabilities over time. It also has a negative effect on your battery's driving range. That's because all of the added power demands that come from operating your EV in cold weather. EVs don't have a heat-producing engine to warm up car in frigid temperatures. It's the battery that powers the heating systems. And if those systems are working overtime, the battery will be worn out quicker. There's just no way around that. And this leads to lower driving range for your EV. If you live in a cold climate, but you're still set on getting an EV, in that case, just look at Norway. The Norwegian government has recently been incentivizing their citizens to buy clean green EVs instead of traditional gasoline ones. But here's the thing. We all know Norway is cold, very cold. The coldest temperature on record ever recorded in Norway was minus 60.5 degrees. Nevertheless, the Norwegian government went ahead performing a series of comprehensive tests to try out the best EV for their frigid temperatures. A couple of years ago, the Norway Automotive Federation published the results of this particular test. In this test, they drove 20 different EVs in real-world winter conditions until they literally stopped completely and shut down. Guess which one came on top? Believe it or not, they found that the Hyundai Kona only experienced a 9% decrease in driving range. The Tesla Model S also scored at the top for driving range. And when it came to the best EV for charging in the cold, the top cars were the Tesla Model 3 and the Audi e-tron. Another cost that many people forget about is the cost to charge an EV. You have options for sure, but none of the public charging ones are cheap. Far from it. This can come as a real surprise for some EV owners when they go to charge on the road. Prices for public charging stations really depend on the provider, and they can range widely from state to state. Did you know that states even have different ways of calculating what they'll base charging costs on? Some states only allow providers to charge on a per-minute basis. Other states allow pricing based on the kilowatt hour of electricity used. Just look at a few examples. There's a charging network called Blink. It charges you anywhere from 4 to 6 cents per minute or 39 to 79 cents per kilowatt hour. It all depends on where you choose to charge your car. Even Tesla's charging prices vary. Tesla charges 28 cents per kilowatt hour or 13 to 26 cents per minute. Speaking of EV charging, here's another thing your EV is costing you that many people forget to think about, and that is time. They say time is money, and it's true. With new fast chargers, you can potentially fully charge your EV in less than 30 minutes. If you think that's a steal, just recall how long it took you to pump gas in your combustion engine car. 2 minutes! And if you're in an urgent rush and your car suddenly loses all its juice, 30 minutes can be an eternity. And if you're not using a fast charger, charging time can go up to 7, 8, or even 12 hours. If you want to avoid the faster, expensive charging options and prefer the low-stress option of at-home charging, well, it may be lower stress, but it's nowhere near lower cost. Fully setting up an EV charger in your home isn't cheap. The average installation cost to get an EV charger for home use can be about $1,500, and that number can go even higher depending on permits, labor costs, and other logistics. Also remember, at-home chargers aren't one size fits all. Depending on the model of your EV, you might need to buy a specific charger for your car's make. But those aren't the only hidden costs of home charging stations. You also have to factor in how much it'll cost you to find a trained electrician who knows how to install car chargers in the first place. And you might even have to find someone to upgrade the electrical grid in your home to be able to handle such high amperage fast charging. Now let's say your EV battery suddenly dies on you and you have to replace it. Well, I got some bad news for you. It'll cost you a lot. We can only hope battery technology will get better in the future. But for now, you have no choice but to replace your EV's battery on average every 8 to 10 years, or about 100,000 miles. That might seem far away, but reality is that time flies. And when this time period is up, you'll be looking at a battery replacement price tag ranging anywhere from $6,000 to even $20,000 depending on the make. Even if you do everything right, all rechargeable batteries lose capacity with more use and time. It's inevitable. Now, in the past, car makers used to clearly warn consumers that batteries lose capacity over time in their owner's manuals. Take the Nissan Leaf, for example. The manual for the 2011 Nissan Leaf had the warning with Nissan's estimation that battery capacity would be reduced after 5 years. I'm talking 80%. They added that this was just an estimate. The percentage could be even significantly lower depending on the individual vehicle and lithium-ion battery usage. Really, the key to long battery life is how much you charge and how you charge it. It's a general rule of thumb: don't run your battery below 10% state of charge unless you really have to. And avoid regularly charging your EV's battery above 80 or 90%. Most EVs allow you to set a level on the car when it will stop charging. But it's not only your battery that can break down and break your bank. Generally, they say EVs require less maintenance. As with all things in life, everything breaks down sooner or later. Really, there are all kinds of things that can break down in an EV. And you guessed it, the cost of repairing these things can be much higher compared to that of the combustion engine car. Another common misconception is that EV repairs are cheaper since it has less moving parts than a traditional combustion engine, and also since you don't need to do oil changes. That's not true. They are not cheaper. Take a look at Tesla, for example. The average annual repair cost for an average combustion engine car last year was $650, but the average repair cost of a Tesla is $830. That's almost an extra $200 a year. A company named We Predict even found that EV service costs were 2.3 times higher than a gasoline-powered car in a 3-month time frame. And at 12 months, EV service costs were 1.6 times higher. They also found that service-related costs averaged a bit more like $30 per electric vehicle, whereas a gas-powered car averaged $190. And believe it or not, EV annual repair costs are going up, and that's thanks to the scarcity of parts that are needed for a replacement. But it's not only what needs to be repaired in your vehicle that will cost you, it's also who can repair it. Electric vehicle auto mechanics might not be as easy to find as a combustion engine mechanics as you might think. That's because EVs are a modern technology that's evolving and changing. Compare that to traditional mechanics who service combustion engine cars, which has been a steady, stable engineering science in the last few decades. By the way, did you know that your car manufacturer might even set specific restrictions on who can repair your unique EV model? This means an even smaller pool of mechanics. If you get an EV, it's not just higher sticker price you'll pay. You'll also pay higher registration fees. Many people don't know this, but with combustion engine cars, some states charge something called the gas tax. This tax helps to pay for road repairs and other road-related issues. But here's the thing, EVs don't need gas. And that means that, as an EV owner, you might not end up paying your fair share in infrastructure taxes. But some states are getting smart about this. They're increasing the registration fee for electric vehicles to make up for lost revenue. Every state charges different registration fees. But in general, you're looking at fees ranging from $50 to $200 per year. And last but not least are the add-ons. Many models require you to pay to unlock them. Some don't come standard. For example, consider self-driving technology and acceleration boosts. All that sounds high-tech and exciting, but it also means it'll come with a price, and it's high. You might even have to pay up to several $1,000s just to unlock these features. Just look at Tesla. If you were to guess how much their full self-driving feature would cost you, what would you say? The answer is a whopping $10,000. The question you need to ask yourself, It's whether it's really worth paying thousands for that. Well, here's a tip. Always compare. If you're wondering if a new Tesla feature isn't really worth it, you should check out other EV models. That's because some EV models offer similar features as standard on their models. Here's the bottom line. When it comes to whether or not to buy an EV, you have to take the time to weigh the benefits and the risks. Sure, there are advantages that come with buying an EV, but don't forget to take into account these hidden costs too. They could end up costing you literally thousands. When you factor everything in, you might just end up with the same conclusion as me, which is better to stay unplugged, at least for now, until the EV industry makes some drastic changes. But now you tell me, which hidden costs from this video shocked you the most? Do you have a personal horror story with a hidden cost that you incurred in an electric car? Please comment below. If you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for your support.